Policy feels big until it shows up at your kitchen table. Our guest today has spent decades meeting families where they are in schools, alleys, and yes, over a warm plate to turn fear into forward. If you've ever wondered how quiet leadership changes lives, this one is for you. Welcome to the Always On Mute podcast, where we know not everyone was born with a mic in their hand or a megaphone in their mouth, but we still have something to say because quiet is still a voice.
Today on Always on Mute, I am joined with my esteemed co-host, Antonia, Sista Allen, by Miss Edie Richards, who is a New York City social worker and community advocate with over 30 years of experience from trauma-informed care to campaigns like Clean Slate, Communities Not Cages, even building community through food. Her promise is clear. Who will save the children? Miss Edie says she will. Miss Edie.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
So, Miss Edie, we have been experiencing unprecedented amount of changes within the last 6 months to programs that may have been typically communities may have counted on, whether it is food insecurity or whether it's housing. I know you're on the front line of that space. When you look across the landscape of the last 6 months, how has it been as a frontline worker?
It's devastating. Look, I hope I don't start crying. Today is Sunday. I think Thursday I attended the memorial of a alumni from SUNY Albany, 32 years old female committed suicide.
Ooh.
So, it's devastating and it's on all fronts. My colleague who's a manager at Department of Homeless Services, she just sent me a housing lottery, and a one bedroom in Far Rockaway is almost $2,700. Who can afford that?
Woo! Oh my God. That's just crazy. Yeah, I lived in Far Rockaway actually. That we paid $900. Of course, this was 2000, but to even think, because Far Rockaway, it ain't you out there like it's not
One way in,
you
one way
walking.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you walk in a lot. Like you walk in, and it's very. It feels like a ghost town. A lot of times, I will always say, especially on Sundays, it really felt like a ghost town. And now I say, why would anybody? But my ex, she really liked the beach, so But yeah, Far Rockaway is not 2,700. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. And is that a basement apartment? Is no, it's not. It's like,
It might as well be.
That's insane.
So if you ask any New Yorker, or I think any American, it's problematic and shocking. Housing, food insecurities, homelessness, mental health. Like, I don't want to ride public transportation because it's guaranteed that there's going to be a homeless, mentally ill person talking to themselves, trying to attack you. It's just the wild, wild west.
It is. It is.
Right. And now that your mayor has decided to drop out of mayor's race,
Did he?
it's only gonna get
Yeah, today.
Yeah. And we shall see.
Yes.
It's definitely interesting watching the politics, but from a community services perspective, I tried to talk to people about this, but they don't necessarily, it is what it is, and people are upset. But New York, for me, I lived there from 89 to 2016. And I remember in the 80s, we had a lot of graffiti, we had a lot of, uncleanliness. And as much as I don't like the mayor in between in between Dinkins and Bloomberg, the person whose name I should not speak of. The one thing that I did agree with was the quality of life, even in the hood, was raised. it was, even though I didn't like the methodology, we didn't have as many, let's say, pissy elevators. We didn't have, people started to start, at least the neighborhoods I was in, which is primarily Brooklyn. We started having more, um, we'll say, pride in a neighborhood, or pride in, you're just not gonna urinate on somebody's, side of their building. It's not gonna be a thing. And it felt like New York, as a person who grew up in New Jersey and then moved to New York when I was 18. It felt like a lot of New Yorkers were depressed
Hmm.
from the late 80s till about 2000. And I'm not saying Mr. G was the reason why. I think it was society and things were coming up. But at the same time, um, was coming, possibly, a socialist society for a capitalist city feels like it's gonna be all kind of problems on top of problems, because every time, from a nonprofit perspective, I would, in the 90s, I was in nonprofits for a foundation, Fund for the City, and Harlem Children's Zone. And every time we had to have conversations about how we're going to help, what project we're going to take on, it was a very tight space we had to walk, from not pissing off the donor, the person, the funder,
Hmm.
who was a super wealthy family. And so we could not push, oh, we want to eradicate. What I loved about Harlem Children's Zone is that they did eradicate asthma for those blocks, because they got rid of these two bus depots. But if it that was those are clear issues in that community, and it took about 7 to 8 years. But that was something the funders were like, because they didn't care about the buses, so like it wasn't an issue with where those buses are going to go. And unlike you saying you want to have a domestic violence prevention program, and you want to put that program, and I don't know, let's say, I don't know, 56 through 72 in Manhattan on the East Side. It's like, oh, no, 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 we cannot have that program here in this neighborhood. Put it in Far Rockaway. Put it in Yonkers. Like, so my point is that New York has, for me, from outside looking in, has never really been a place where social programs and capitalism kind of work together. It's always been this dance of, almost. So I'm saying all that to say, the question to you is that, um, with a focus on socialism, because you were there for Dinkins, right?
Yes.
I feel like that's what this might be reverting back to, what's coming. And it wasn't necessarily, I don't necessarily remember it being a great time. It was interesting, and those were definitely challenge. And I think there were some good programs that were started. But as soon as Mr. G Man came, he cut all those programs, like kind of like what's happening right now. All that was gone, and all those, things that you saw as maybe possible things that were going to change and be good, they were all gone, wiped away in one week. So, how do you prepare for the time period where every person who's looking for every single solution is possibly going to get that solution met, but then the United States government is going to say, so where's the money going to come from? Just how do you prepare for that?
It's funny that you said quality of life, because when you were saying it, I was thinking it and then I wrote it down, because menopause is of the devil and doesn't like you. So with that being said, Tuesday, September 23rd, Senator Comrie, Leroy Comrie, and
Yeah.
Assemblywoman Dr. Natasha Williams, and I think the other one is Assemblywoman Hyman. They hosted a town hall for quality of life. And so I went because I'm collaborating with Voices from Within, JJ
Okay.
Velasquez and Dan Slepian from NBC, um, NBC correspondent who helped JJ Velasquez be released from prison because they had given him life. He didn't commit a
Mm,
crime. That's another story. But
mhm.
anyway, at the quality of life town hall, I was selected to ask a question. So introduced myself and I said to them, well, I asked, who will save the children? I will. So the voices from within, JJ Velasquez and Dan Slepian and their team, they would like to come into New York City schools with a workshop to work with students to help prevent them from entering the penal system. So because
Mm.
Mm.
of that meeting, they will get a meeting to sit down and make this happen, right? Then also, I remembered I'm a dementia ambassador. I do so many things, I forget what I'm doing. So when you speak of quality of life in the Bronx, I was unaware. It has the largest percentages of dementia. And then I was wondering why when I was in the group virtual meeting, and they said because rent is inexpensive, and so everybody moved to the Bronx. Like, even my family, when my grandfather years ago moved to New York City from Alabama, it was the least expensive. So his children came, and my brother always asked me, why didn't they leave? But you do what your parents did. We kept
Yeah.
trauma. It's inexpensive. You're afraid to go somewhere new, and fear just grapples you, and so you.
But let's be real. It's hard. It's not.
Yes.
That's the one thing people don't understand about New York. It's hard. So let's say you didn't have any fear. Try 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks. Look for apartments
Oh
in all of New York.
no.
This head is shaking
It's
because half of
depressing.
them are by this agent, an agency. The other half are by landlords you don't know if you trust, and
Hmm.
the other 25%, and the other 25% are maybe the decent apartments which you're in competition with for 100 other people or to 1,000 other people.
Yeah.
So with the Bronx, they also said the inexpensive housing, the most elderly population, but they said everybody's getting dementia because of the poor quality of the environment.
Life,
Cross
yeah,
Bronx Expressway, the
Yeah.
pollution. And
That's
remember,
horrible.
they built the Cross Bronx Expressway because certain people didn't want to go through
going
the
across.
hood,
Yes, yes, above,
bypass.
above it all. Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I talk to people who say, Edie, I feel weary. I don't know what to do. And, I'm not where I want to be yet, but we have to start our own businesses. Cedric Nash, a multimillionaire in real estate, he said he has 23 streams of income,
Wow.
and we have to start our own non for profits. I saw a documentary years ago, and the Koch brothers, I think they all live in this like famous building, like 250 Broadway, somewhere like that, where the doormen even complain because they say you think you'll get a big bonus at Christmas, they may get $50 cash. And
Wow.
Yo.
they said that the Koch brothers say, build your own roads, build your own schools, like take care of yourself. So I think it's an African proverb that says, if you want to move fast, move by yourself. If you want to
Yes.
move, wait, I said it the other day, Antonia.
If you
You
want to
want to
go
move fast,
far,
move by yourself. If you want to,
if
yes,
you want to go far, yeah.
collaborate.
Right.
Yeah. So with that being said, even Trevor Noah, he said the other day, it was a trick. Because I don't believe we should have segregated, but that's just me. It was a trick.
Integrated.
Yeah, we shouldn't have. Um,
You should have stayed segregated.
oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So
Hmm.
Trevor Noah said, if you are in the village, why would somebody tell you to leave? I don't know where black people got it from. Your child has to leave at 18. Mine stayed to 30 and he could come back any day. That you should leave your village, go isolate yourself in a house in another state, and now pay for the nanny, which would be your aunt, your grandmother, or your sister. So now you got to
Hmm.
pay for all these outside resources. It's a trick. They've tricked
Yeah.
us, but now the blinders are open since the pandemic, and we have to
Well,
step
also we
our
don't have a
boots.
choice, right?
Say
We
that
don't
Right.
have a choice. There isn't a choice. And to your point about dementia, we're going to have to partner up. And it's so frustrating sometimes to think about how to do this. But like my wife's parents are way older, and her brother is autistic, and they never gave him the programming or the services he needed. So he's going to have to. So the brothers, she has five brothers and sisters, and we're navigating that, saying, "Well, my mom and when their parents are gone, who's going to take care of Jaylee? And then, but at the same time, they have land, they have plots. So they have land. They have the grandmother left them in the house. They have her sister, or no, her mother's, my wife's mother's, her aunt
Mhm.
is like, when I'm out, all this is y'all. So y'all need to figure this out, which is great. We have space, but who necessarily wants to be down here
Right.
near hurricanes? So it's like, you got the land,
And when
you
you say
have this, but
here,
then you got to figure,
where's here?
Louisiana, Louisiana.
Oh.
Right, exactly, exactly.
No,
Right. No, 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 no. But listen, it's I'm with you. I'm like, and
no,
honestly,
no.
for black women, the healthcare down here is horrible. So,
Oh,
right, so it's
the
but
trade
we're in a
off.
situation where we have to figure, we
You got
got
to
to figure
figure it out.
out these pieces.
Yeah.
And like Caribbean people, what's happening with that brother from Guyana, who is in custody now, who was a school superintendent, who didn't come here legally, and he did all this great work. The white folks in Iowa are screaming mad that ICE has him, because he turned around the school system in Iowa, but he never got his papers. So, like, we got a bunch of those that we got to figure out. And I'm starting to feel like people talking about Civil War, slavery, and stuff like that. I'm like, we're kind of there. We
Yeah,
have to have the Underground Railroad. We got to, like, it's not like a concept
It's
anymore.
not
It's like,
coming,
we're
it's
here.
here.
This is happening. This is
Yeah.
this is
You
happening
know,
right now.
it's crazy
And of course,
because
I'm not
just
going to
today,
verbally say what we need to do, but
just today I was telling someone that, with all these changes with the social apps, that we should just have our own. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we have so many
yes.
brilliant people in our community that we literally can rebuild our own. However,
yeah.
I know that they
Look
won't
at
allow
look
it.
at you with that.
Well, it's. I think, I think the challenge with that is, you always have these people like Isaac Hayes fan base, or the people that want to do that aren't necessarily there's two kids, the young guys who left Twitter. They have something called Spil app, and it's a black owned app, and it's been around for a couple, like maybe 3-4 years, and it has, to me, the most potential to be what you're talking about. But the part is, they're they were raised in Silicon Valley. They went to that school. So whereas someone like me and you, we're happy if Miss Edie can leave a note somewhere, and it can be seen by 10,000 people, and they can give her feedback or whatever, or 5 like it, and 4, we're happy. But by the metrics of the valley, or
Oh,
the metrics of tech bros, that's not acceptable. That person needs to be able to add a video to it. They need to have this, like how we're all of a certain age in this call, and so we understand. We remember CompuServe, we remember AOL, we remember,
Yeah.
IM and messaging. So we were happy getting the information,
Yes.
like all the bells and whistles with that. We did a lot with that information without the
Mhm.
bells and whistles. Even with MySpace, that was dependent upon us to code MySpace. Like, MySpace let you code your page and add all these stuff, but MySpace wouldn't give me that. They were like, well, have at it. You want to do that? Because, so the challenge with it is, the people that could be the builders are off doing these visionary things. Well, not to your point, we honestly just need a damn bulletin board. It's up, and runs, it works, and it doesn't crash. Okay, good.
That's it.
And that's it. Um, but that's so my point was to say that there's some stuff out there like Discord, and even with Reddit, that we could build to what you're talking about, hide in plain sight. We could build it without knowing that we're building it, and this, and then to that point, jump off into an email list or something else. But I think that's it's going to take people like our age to kind of take the lead in that, of what's a band-aid, what's a bridge that allows conversation to happen without it having to be a brand new whole space app. And then, of course, because that's not just the powers that be, but they're all bowing down to a certain person. And so, you know 10 million of us decide to leave TikTok, and we go over to this thing. Well, now this thing has to be approved on, and probably Google will approve it, but it won't be approved on Apple Store because Tim Cook is,
Yeah.
so it's that scenario where we really have to be strategic, and I think that's what will be our blessing.
Mhm.
Will be the strategic, like how we've been this year. We've been pretty much, hey, that's y'all stuff. Y'all have at it,
Right.
and they are.
Yeah.
They are going back and forth with each other, which is like,
Right. It's like,
you know, but we're allowed, and that's where we have to, what you both are doing is investigating other streams of income, investigating other groups and people. And I think that maybe in 2026 or into 2025 we can have a kind of, Tavis Smiley had this before, but it was, was sponsored by Wells Fargo, and it didn't do what it was supposed to. The State of Black America. We could have those conversations. Maybe we have many versions of that
mm-hmm.
quietly and not publicly. There's a brother who just launched something called the State of the Black Family. So he's having a Black Family Conference free on Zoom, October 11th and 12th. It got like 5,000 comments on a post he put on LinkedIn. Says, "Hey, if I had a conference, would y'all want to attend?" And we just talk about what we're doing in 2026 for the family. So that's the family. Somebody else needs one for the food. Somebody else needs one for, and maybe that's something that we could work on as far as a community, to just have the conversation, not necessarily have the app yet, but just what are we doing? What's our 4 goals for 2026 in this one area?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, Miss Edie, I
sounds
have a
like a
question
plan.
for you. So, October 10th is
Yes.
World Mental Health Day. As we head to World Mental Health Day, what is one practical mental health action a caregiver or city worker can do this week, or leading up to it, that truly moves the needle?
Self preservation. Um, I keep thinking there's a rapper, CeeLo,
Hmm.
and I don't want to curse, but the song says "F you and F her too." Self preservation and self care. Even the pastors are saying, "Take care of yourself. Close the door." And that's for your mother, your father, your sister, and your brother. And so I'll give you an example. My cousin called crying this morning because the 20-year-old, 28-year-old wanted to stay out and have sex. And I was like, mm-mm, mm-mm. But he didn't call to check in. So she's up since 1 o'clock. And she said, well, I patiently waited to 7 to call you because I know you don't like the phone calls. So at least she respected me. Because if she would have called me at 3 o'clock
Yeah.
crying over somebody who's having multiple orgasms, I would have been mad. Yeah, I
And
would have
wait,
been
wait, but
upset.
but but here's the thing. She don't know for sure. He might have just slept it off. So you add all this stress on your head, but you don't have any detail.
Concrete.
You're not, now if he had sent a video, look, mom, that's another thing. That's real disrespectful. Thank God he didn't do that. Or he or she or they or whatever it is. It's like they you just are in your head, and you want to pass your trauma on to me.
Right.
And so I
Well,
had
the
to
thing
calm
is,
her down. I
did you say he
prayed.
was 28? You said he's 28? So my thing is,
Yes,
he's a full adult. I'm going
yes.
to sleep. He's a full adult. I'm going to sleep. I swear, like I'm at
But you
this.
know,
Huh?
the battle with our mind, we start to
Yes.
create scenarios.
Yes.
And
We
that's
make
what
up
she
for it.
did.
Yeah. No. 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 I'm.
Yeah,
I'm
so
glad he's
self
okay.
preservation.
You got to
Yeah,
put the mask on you first.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
That
And
part.
so no matter what phone call, like I love my family. I might die for some, not all. I love them. I want to be productive at my job, and in order to do so, I have to take care of Edie.
Hmm.
If I don't put the oxygen mask on first, who can I service? I'm not
Hmm.
even going to be good to the person I'm servicing because
Right.
I'm not 100%. So,
Right.
I always tell them at the professional developments at the job, take a walk, take 10 minutes, exercise. One of the pastors said
Hmm.
today, if you want to dismiss your home care provider, get you a physical fitness person. Because if your muscles don't work, you can't work.
That's
And
true.
if you're
And
healthy and vibrant and the muscles are still strong, you can still, still be alive. I just want to be alive and happy and no medication. I'm
Right.
We
57. I could touch my toes and I don't take medication.
Mm-hmm.
Let me knock on wood.
we we haven't had a conversation, and we should, Antonia, about with. I mean, I've got the perfect person for us to talk to. She'll just talk us a mile a minute. She's a menopause specialist, only because her family has dementia in it. And one of the things that, for black women especially, that brings on dementia is menopause.
Mm-hmm.
So she's done all this research, and so she started weight training to this Edie's point. And so her mother has dementia, her grandmother had dementia, and she's in her late 30s, early 40s, and she's consistently going to the gym, consistently getting into rest, getting her rest at night. Not so she has not a 28-year-old, but she's got like a 21-year-old. He's in Vegas and he works for UFC, and so they travel. So she's a worrier, but she's like, listen, I just need you to just text me. Don't text me you made it safe. Just text me I'm leaving. Wherever you leaving from, that's all. I just need to leave it. I don't need to know you got there. I don't need to just tell me, or just tell me I'm home. And that's all she looks for.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when he doesn't, then she's like, starting to freak out. But she's like, I can't, like what Miss Edie said, I can't be. She's a caretaker for her mother who has dementia. She's she's carried her mortgage, her mother's mortgage. She's got to sell one. She got to decide to sell one of those. But my point is that, and she was let go. She was laid off.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So but every day she's showing me a picture. I'm doing 250 now. I'm working on, and that's because, to your point, Miss Edie, she literally has to stay strong. If her muscles atrophy, or just kind of get flab and all that, it's a wrap for her in 10 years.
But it's a wrap
She'll be
for
where her
all
mother's
of
at.
us. It,
That's true.
it's
That's
a
a good
wrap
point.
for,
That's an excellent point.
it's a
That's
wrap
an
for
excellent
all of
point.
us. Why do you think when you go to the gym, I'm African American. I'm not racist, but I'm African American. So I'm always looking out for me, right? So with that being said, when I go to the gym, when I go to the park, when I'm on the West Side High, no, yeah, the West Side Highway in Lower Manhattan, and they have all the things for
Yep.
people who don't look
Yep.
like me, and
Right.
everybody's out there. The dog, the child,
Yeah.
they're rollerblading, they're running, they're playing volleyball. The dog is walking. They're
Yeah.
moving. We're supposed to be
They're doing
quiet.
Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Say that again.
They're doing Tai
They're
Chi.
doing
They're
Tai
doing
Chi.
Tai Chi
Ooh,
at the basketball court.
the
Yeah.
Asians in Lower Manhattan down by the
I'm
tube,
just saying.
they out
They
there
Yeah.
don't have to
doing
do
Tai
names.
Chi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing something.
We have to keep moving. Like I'm sitting here, I should stand up because every 20 minutes, if you don't move, it's like smoking cigarettes. And I don't smoke cigarettes, so I'm not even getting the benefit of a drag. So I might as well move.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And that's one good thing I was definitely say about New York is that it always kept, you always had to move. Um, you had, go up and down the stairs in the
Ooh.
subway. You always you had to move. You had to leave the car you're in because craziness is about to pop off, so you got to go to the next car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
Wait,
always got to be moving.
my coworker said, a woman from the Bronx because she got strong legs. Because we got all those hills.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
And most
That's
people
kind of
don't
true.
have a driver's license, right? They don't own
Yeah.
a car in New York City.
Yeah, people get mad at me because I don't have a driver's license
Yeah,
around the country. When I moved to different city, like, you don't drive? Like, nah, I was in New York for 40 years.
yeah.
So. You don't want? No, I don't. I really don't want to go to a motor vehicle and take the test and deal with the test taker and K turns or whatever parallel parking.
Yes.
I can drive, but I just
Yeah, choose not
Who's
to
not
drive.
I'm
to?
good.
Yeah.
I want a
Boundaries.
driver. I don't like to drive.
That part,
Yeah.
boundaries, and also that, to your point about sitting and being sedentary, driving. Right, you go around the country, they all drive everywhere, and they sit a lot. A lot, and it's not Philly and Louisiana were the two states where people didn't have big backs. Atlanta, DC, Detroit, Houston, and Dallas. I'm trying to think of Austin, big back cities. They just they do a lot of sitting,
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
and but in Philly and Louisiana, the people they work. They're real blue collar type of folks, and so while I remember the good thing about being in New York for such a long time is as I went through other cities, I realized that I'm unique because I walk, where versus like being able to drive everywhere or get to somewhere without public transportation.
Mm.
It was very very rare you run into somebody else who was walking. So they had these great spaces. Now, one thing about Atlanta, they have something like the Beltline. I'm sorry, they have something like the
Yes.
High
Yes.
Line. But to your point, Miss Edie, you know who's on the Beltline? Not so much now, because now it's changed. Lil Wayne and a
I
couple
saw
other
some homeless people
celebrities.
when I was there in
Yeah,
August. So
but we are. I would say in Atlanta they are taking advantage of walking more so than it was in 2016. But it was when I was there and I was doing it by myself. It would be I could see occasionally brother. We be so it's a brother. Other than that, it's a lot of them
yeah.
back and forth,
Yes. Yes.
jogging, rollerblading, all kind of stuff.
But
You
see,
know,
they know what to do to stay healthy. Um, well, we like.
or I suspect they feel because the other thing about New York was I would go to places that they weren't at, and I mean there was nobody at. The was it West Side? Yeah, West no East Side, East Side down by Tribeca, across from to Jersey. So I would be standing there on a promenade on
Uh
the
huh.
East Side,
Uh huh.
and not the Brooklyn, not the West Side, and it wouldn't be them. It would be one or two of them, but a lot of people did not take advantage of the spaces in New York. And so you could I would love finding places they weren't necessarily
Oh,
at
okay.
either. Like I would be the only person, period. But I feel like what they have that we're working on this year, and maybe we'll work on next year also, is are starting to feel like we have license and agency to take care of ourselves, or we have to.
Yeah.
They always felt I don't care what neighborhood it was in. Because you would see some of them would come up to our neighborhoods, whether it's the Bronx or Yonkers. I lived in Yonkers. Um, trying to think what even when I didn't live in pink houses, but I lived around pink houses, and I would see this one. Like, huh, how the hell you what? How
Yeah.
you in East New York like that, and just walking your dog like
Very casual.
you like, why do you feel so? And that's the
Entitled?
thing I think that we're working on. Where not for nothing, I'm out here too.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
doing me,
Yes.
whatever that means. Now, to your point, we should be doing it for health. Like
Yeah.
black health is black wealth, and we should be doing that.
And they
Absolutely.
updated the walk on the west side, so now you can go from 125th Street all the way to Battery.
Yes,
It's
that's
beautiful.
nice. That's what's up.
Yeah. It's
I need to do that. I would love to do that.
yeah.
But remember the strikes, the two strikes that happened in 2000, the two MTA strikes,
Yes.
and we had to do that.
Yeah.
We
Oh.
had to
Oh
walk.
yes. I remember.
Yeah, I walked from Brooklyn up to the radio station on 135th. And I was so pissed at the NTA. I still mad about this. They didn't take that contract. Remember, they didn't take the contract. So they ended up getting the contract they didn't want to get. And we all walked. For what? I was so mad with them jokers. Every time I got on the train or a bus, I just glared at them. He was like, what? You didn't take the contract. No, I voted for the contract. Like, I let everybody know. Every one of those jokers I ran into, I let them know. And most of them I ran into, they said I did vote for the other kind. They said it was people, but whatever. But I was like, that was so stupid. Like you had grandmothers, you had kids. The whole city was walking support these jokers, and they did not ratify.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
still pissed. I'm still pissed.
That's funny. So, Miss Edie, I have another question for you. An estimated
Mhm.
100,000 plus children in New York have a parent in jail or prison, meaning schools and clinics meet this reality every single day. What are the first two supports you try to secure for a caregiver or child the week of the parent's incarceration?
So, my background is employment at New York City Administration for Children's Services. And please don't ask me the name, but they have a program where the workers take the children to see the parents.
Mm.
And I don't believe New York City Public Schools has that, but well, Voices from Within. I'm trying to I am collaborating with them to create the workshop. So I believe when we create the workshop, and students will now have an outlet to voice their opinions, and maybe somebody will say, hey, I haven't seen my parent. So I would like to start a program at New York City Public Schools, but I don't have the power. But now, so when I made that introduction at the town hall with the politicians and the other city commissioners and deputy commissioners, so I think I'll have a little leeway. So maybe I could bring up that topic, because it is an issue. When I worked foster care, the students' parents are in prison, and in the early no maybe like in the early 2000s, if you remember the book Finding Fish, and then it was a movie with Denzel Washington, and Denzel was the psychiatrist in the military that the character Derek Luke had to go see because he was getting into so many fights. So the real Antoine Fisher I met, and
Oh wow.
yeah, so a children's village hosted a premiere of the movie Finding Fish, and he talked about how his mother was incarcerated, and she gave birth, and he was in the foster care system. So it is an issue that needs to be tackled, but somebody has to ring the alarm. So
Yeah.
when I came back to the office, my colleague, he was like, "That's what I like about you. You like to rock the boat." So I'm rocking
Or just
boat,
ask for what's available. Like,
but they don't want you to do that. And I think I put them on notice by saying it out loud in front of everybody, just to even create a program to prevent a student from coming into the penal system. Because who's at Rikers? People that look like you and me.
Yeah.
Who's at all these correctional facilities? When we see the videos of someone being murdered, it's us. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I also volunteered with the Prisons Wives Society, and so that's an organization started by a, prison wife who wanted to talk to like-minded people, and there are children involved, and they go and they advocate for their loved ones that are in prison.
now in Philadelphia, they have a program like that where they bring the children. I forget what it's called, but I was pleasantly surprised to learn that they had a program where, especially the fathers, it was for fathers really to talk to their kids. I don't think it's mothers also. I'm not sure, but I know it was definitely men for them to bring, especially when right before the grades are due.
Mhm.
They're bringing them up there to talk to them about their grades and for the fathers to be a father to these children.
Is that the
So I
same
was,
one where there was like a father, a daddy daughter dance? I think
yeah,
at the
yeah,
prison.
right,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was so
yeah.
Oh
moving.
yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
So I think I think it's in the air for that to be a thing. But to your point about New York, New York has it's just really interesting. On one side, we have so much power or positivity. On the other side, there's so little programming of that power and positivity. So it's this weird mixture of it feels like it feels like, I mean, and some people say it's purposeful, but it feels like that nothing changes, nothing gets done. But in reality, there is a lot of stuff that's being done.
Hmm.
It's just not organized and centralized in a way.
So that's it, right? So for me, I've worked for Human Resources Administration Welfare. I've worked for ACS Children's Services, and now at New York City Public School, the top, agencies in their own rights. I don't understand why there's not more collaboration. And it's the ego. So this person wants to say, "Oh, it's my program," and this one person wants to say, "Oh, well, I'm doing this," and
Hmm.
so we're so divided. We
Yeah.
never collaborate, and then who's suffering? The children.
Right. Sadly, but
Well, you can say that about potholes too, though. Like the street, like that. I feels like it's DNA built into the DNA of New York City for bureaucracy because whenever there's what they call a task force, now you have 14 departments working together, but it requires a task force, and to get a task force approved requires the mayor's office and this and that. So it's like that concept of um, um, I'm gonna protect my own. I want the credit for this because I need to shine, because the only way I can move up and into in the hierarchy is for me to have a project that shines. But if a higher power like the mayor's office says we're going to create a task force to tackle this thing, now everybody has to sit at the same table and share the rewards and share the responsibility and stuff like that. And I think that's feels like DNA built into all of New York government or municipality, is that it's just there's no collaboration unless it's forced.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, I know. And as a
It
business
doesn't
owner,
have to be. And so my coworkers always say, Edie, everybody doesn't think like you, because I don't wait for somebody to ask me. I just do it. Right.
right,
So there was a back to school fair hosted by a city agency. They invited me. I didn't need the deputy commissioner to tell me, oh, I need the dental van. I called my contact at Colgate Dental, and the dental van was there.
right.
I just make the email. Either it's a yes or no. Closed mouths don't get fed. So
Mm.
to me, it's a simple solution. People just don't want to do it. Nobody cares. Everybody's apathetic. That's just how I feel.
That the fact.
I think that that's true to some degree, but I think as I listen to you more and as I understand what you do more, I almost would would advocate for you to create almost your own positioning or your own lane. So in this conversation, we've known each other for a year or more, and I have learned more about how you process and think through
Mm.
than I have before. So honestly, you're kind of the collaboration queen or the task force queen. Let's say you labeled yourself. I'm talking about in that position, not outside, but
Mm-hmm.
that was you were the person that everybody saw as a person that could bring departments together. That was your thing. Your thing is like you got your regular job, but then you're like, okay, here's a problem. Let me call a sanitation. Let me call this person over here, and then what you did was create the collab. You always called it a collaborative, a collective. It's whatever collective or this thing, whatever. And everywhere you framed it was everybody at the table is going to be in this article. And the article is covered by Amsterdam, or article is covered by whatever local small newspaper that's easy to tweet them a press release. But you make sure everybody got their shine. So then everybody signs on. Anytime Edie calls them, they all sign on because they're like, okay, it's not going to be a heavy lift.
Right.
She's always going to give us, I get this part, that person has that part. And she always gives credit to everybody part. So that could be your stick, so to speak, in what you do is always bringing outside entities that normally would not work together for its general good. And I can see you even getting an award for that because like nobody told you to do this, but we're always so happy when Edie calls us because we know we're gonna all come together. We're all gonna, and it's like, well, why should that be something that you have to do? Why shouldn't that be built into the DNA? But it's just that I think New York has been that way since the late 1800s when they first created city government because they all created the city hall bosses. They wanted people to be dysfunctional. There was not like come because if it was functional, then the Irish kids, then the Jewish kids, then the Spanish, all the ghetto kids wouldn't have been easy to corral and send to the Midwest to work on farms.
Yeah. Sad but true.
So, just saying, Children's Aid Society was really about sending kids outside of New York to work in the Midwest. It wasn't about really helping children in New York City. So,
I
Sad but true.
understand. Just like the first foster care case was about, I think, a little girl named Mary. You could Google it, and it really wasn't about protecting her. They didn't have any laws for children. All they had was laws for animals. So they had to do something to protect little Mary.
Mm.
wow, wow.
Ah,
So, wrapping up, and I love the tip for outside. I love the tip for taking care of ourselves. What would you suggest for somebody that we're getting close to the end of the year and wanted to donate, felt like they wanted to give back, what suggestion would you have for people who want to give back and want to find that organization that locally is doing the groundwork? What is some things that you can help identify a good organization that is doing the work?
Look in your community and find the problem. What is the problem? Far Rockaway, I think up until this month, had no after school programs. Now, I was told that some are there now, but they had
Wow.
no after school programs, and people would have to leave their work early to go pick their child up, and the boss didn't allow them to bring the child to
Mm.
work because of insurance and safety issues. So they had to quit their job. Parents had to go
Oh,
all the way to Valley Stream for an after school program. It
Wow.
doesn't make sense.
It
So find
doesn't.
right.
the problem and provide the solution. I volunteer with God's Love We Deliver. So that started in
Mm.
the 80s.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. You
Family.
funded them.
hmm suffering with HIV and AIDS. They need volunteers every day, all day. Thanksgiving, you can volunteer. You can have a car, not have a car. You could go to their offices, and it's really, really nice. And you meet some wonderful people. Churches, you could go anywhere and volunteer. It's just, what do you like to do? Do you like to cook? Do you want to go to a nursing home and read or sing to the elderly? Do you want
Mm.
to go to a school? Everybody needs a volunteer. So
Yeah.
what is your purpose, right? Because that's important. If you don't like to be around children, you shouldn't go to a school or after school program. If you don't like to be around the elderly, you shouldn't go there. So what is your purpose, right? Like with the purpose driven life, why do you believe God wakes you up every morning? What
Mm.
is your purpose? And as Steve Harvey says, what would you do that gives you the greatest of ease that you would do for free? And then just provide that service, and it just fills your heart. It just makes you feel so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned God loves we deliver, and I have a question for you because I know that you love to cook, and that's one of your things, right? So sharing meals boosts
Yes.
social bonding, trust, community engagement, and overall well-being. Food is like a connection infrastructure. You use food as a bridge. What dish consistently brings folks together, and what conversation tends to open up around it?
Oh, my colleague, his mom gave birth to him as a teenager. And a teenager doesn't really know how to take care of a baby. So at 14, the grandmother took the baby, and the mother hasn't been right ever since. She feels
Mm.
less than because she deliberately got pregnant because she wanted to have a baby so she could love. So, with that being said, whenever I cook the red velvet, last week I was asked to make red velvet cornbread, which I had never heard of, and I made it. He says when he eats my food, it brings a memory of his deceased grandmother.
Oh wow,
So
that's
that
nice.
really warms
Mm.
my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the desserts are, Southern cuisine or Caribbean dishes. Everybody loves it. Like the substance misusers in my neighborhood, in my old neighborhood of the Bronx, I would feed everybody. And so on the train, in the street, they're yelling, "There go that lady that cook." So it makes them feel loved. Because can you
Yeah.
imagine being homeless, nobody hugs you, or you didn't eat for the day, and someone comes and gives you a warm meal? It's humanity. It acknowledges that you exist, like somebody cares about you.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, I thank you for your service because when I learned about you cooking and sharing, I think that's an amazing thing. So yeah, thank you for your
Amen.
service.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I remember
Oh,
being hungry, so giving somebody a warm meal, it
yeah,
doesn't hurt.
I agree. One of
And
the
God
things that
always
I
gives it back.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that I've done that I used to do pre-COVID, I saw online about like care packages. And so for Christmas, I used to first I did it by myself a couple years, and then I introduced it to a professional women's club that I was in, and then we did it as a group where we purchased a lot of little toiletries and socks and water and stuff like that, and put it in a Ziploc bag and walked around. Because of course, at like during the holidays, um, they're truly forgotten, right? And when everybody's home opening gifts, like it's nice to give back in that way, right? Because people
Yeah,
being living in New York, I grew up in New Jersey, so when I moved to New York, seeing the homeless on the street, for me it was like it wasn't something that I was used to, and I'm still not used to it, because unfortunately now it's not only homeless. You have a lot of people who are basically under the influence of whatever. And sadly, the majority of them are actually veterans who are without home, without family. And so
yeah,
to see that, for me, like to know that people who fought for this country come back and they have no place to live, in my opinion, it's sad, right? And so,
it is.
it's nice when people can return thanks, to the people who are without. So I'm grateful to you for your service, and for what you do
Thank you.
for, yeah, thank you. I'm grateful. There's so many people who does, they're kind of like superheroes, um, because it's not, I don't think it's an easy job to work with, the people who are mentally challenged. It takes, I think it's a gift, like when someone can actually work with people who are mentally challenged, because you can get hurt, you can get hurt, but
Yes.
I think it takes a special kind of person to be able to connect with people. And I think that's what you are. Earlier when Dr. Pratt was talking about, the fact that you're able to, get groups to collaborate. I feel like my spirit was telling me she's a connector. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, that's what they call me. You're welcome. Thank you all for having.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
So
Thank
little
you.
known fact, you are our first guest here on Always on Mute.
Oh,
Yep.
thank you, thank you,
Thank you.
thank
Thank you.
you.
So,
And I'm so
we're
proud of
happy
you
to
too.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
But happy to have you back again, because I just feel like the conversation about mental health is not one that will ever get stale. And with the political climate that
No.
we're in right now, I just feel like it's going to get worse and worse. With people losing their jobs, people, feeling insecure, not related, but kind of, the whole rapture conversation that happened, and seeing the aftermath of the people, like, online crying, because, and it's almost as if, like, people are really and truly like trying to find something to believe in. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, wow,
Yes.
so many lost souls. But I'm grateful that you are there to be a guide and a connector for them.
Thank you. And when you said the cutting of the budget, we used to have social workers that went to my schools, 150 in Queens South. The social workers, the grant was discontinued. We don't have social workers for mental health.
Oh, wow.
So now I'm trying to find resources to make sure that the schools have something to fall back on. Isn't that crazy?
It is. And I just feel like instead of us like going this way, we're basically like just we're going down. And New York really feels it because like when I walk, there was a point in time when I used to kind of be a little anxious like when I see homeless, but now I'm not. Like I walk past them, and if I have something
Mhm.
that I can share, then I do, because the reality of it is it could be anyone.
Exactly.
It could be anyone.
Yes.
You know,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
it could be
If
anyone.
not for the grace of God.
That's it.
Yes,
Yeah, because something could happen, and I've felt it before where you feel yourself going to the edge, and but the
Yep.
sake of God, He pulls you back.
absolutely,
So you could get any
absolutely,
phone call and you lose your mind because you're so devastated. So yeah, I thank God that I'm in my right mind.
absolutely, absolutely. So, on that note, Miss Edie, we are grateful that you were able to join us today. This was a great
Oh,
episode,
you're
and I
welcome.
look
You're
forward to
welcome.
having you on. I look forward to having you on as a guest again. Maybe this time it could be about food, because I mean, so the premise
Yeah,
of
that's good.
Always on Mute is to basically get the voiceless a platform to speak, because sometimes like we're just off in a corner and we do have things to say, but we either don't get the chance or we don't take the chance. So hoping that this platform will be an opportunity for the quiet people to come and share, and then those on the other side of the screen will be able to learn, like some things from us. So I am grateful. All right. So if
Nice. I
this
like the concept.
conversation Oh, I
I
thought you
like
was
the
on.
concept. Always on mute.
Thank you. Thank you. Because those
You're
who are quiet, quiet is still a voice. So, if this
That's right.
conversation moved you, do one quiet, powerful thing today. Share this episode with one person who needs it, and drop an "I will" in the comments if you're committed to showing up for kids and caregivers. Make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on the bell so that you do not miss what's next. Because at always on mute, quiet is still a voice. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.